So here's the thing. I love the Surface Book. It's one of the most unique laptops on the planet. It tries to offer an everything solution using a design that no other company has attempted before. In fact, the Surface Book 2 was my daily driver for 6 months when it first came out. Even my YouTube channel avatar is a picture of me with a Surface Book. Now, I know this does sound super cheesy, but the 1080p webcam is a massive feature compared to other laptops that use potatoes. I've actually done a live stream using the Surface Book 2 webcam, and the quality was fantastic. But here's the thing. The new Surface Book 3 is aimed at users with heavy workflows. The price is high, pushing it out of the general consumer market and into a more professional landscape. Microsoft is calling this a performance powerhouse, with mentions of Adobe Premiere Pro, Photoshop, SolidWorks, and Visual Studio plastered all over their websites. Now, I'm an Adobe Premiere Pro user and had to stop using the Surface Book 2 because of how poorly it handled 4K video editing. These 15-watt Intel CPUs that are embedded inside of the tablet portion don't have enough power to edit 4K video smoothly. After a few color corrections, some titles, and few effects, the Surface Book 2 and 3 would become too slow to use. Adobe is such a CPU-hungry application. Laptops like the Dell XPS 15, MacBook Pro 16, and X1 Extreme have more cores and much better performance. I know NVIDIA and Adobe made some improvements to GPU rendering, but this is for rendering and not so much timeline playback and general editing. Now, in all fairness, I get why Microsoft is using Intel's U-series processors. They don't produce as much heat since the CPU has to be embedded into the tablet portion to be used without the base. It would be very difficult to cool a 45-watt CPU in such a confined space. But to call this a performance powerhouse is a bit misleading. Sure, if you use Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, or even Visual Studio, things will be fine. But if you use any application that is CPU intensive like SolidWorks, Premiere Pro, or even AI development, I think you're better off looking at other laptops that utilize Intel's or AMD's H-series processors. Microsoft is also advertising this as a gaming laptop, and yes, it can game. The GTX 1660 Ti in the 15-inch model is a nice update, and it no longer power drains when connected to an outlet. But this is not a gaming laptop, but more of a laptop that lets you game. Considering its price point, you could buy a Razer Blade 15 that would not only be better in applications I mentioned earlier, but would include a mightier GPU, CPU, and a high refresh display that gamers require. Now, the display is the one area Microsoft continues to get right. Sure, it has thick bezels for 2020 standards, but the 3:2 aspect ratio is the best aspect ratio for productivity, period. Paired with a high color gamut and good color accuracy, I can see why artists find the Surface Book 3's form factor so appealing. In fact, this is where I think the Surface Book 3 excels, in a niche market aimed towards architects and designers that prefer a tablet but also want a computer with more performance to go with it. Convertible laptops are cool, but they don't offer the flexibility of a Surface Book. Now, if you are using the tablet portion a lot, I suggest putting a dbrand skin like this one on it to protect it from getting scratched while adding some more character. Microsoft has improved the hinge response time. Before it was slow, you had to wait a solid 5 seconds for it to detach. Now it does it in 1 to 2. Once it's detached, you lose the power of the GTX 1660 Ti that's embedded in the base. But the Iris Plus graphics inside the tablet portion is a nice upgrade compared to its predecessor. Other upgrades include a faster SSD, at least on the more expensive models. It's not as fast as the MacBook Pro or XPS 15s, but a nice upgrade from the Book 2. Ports haven't changed. Nope, still no Thunderbolt 3. Microsoft says most people don't need it since the Surface Connect port provides similar functionality. The keyboard is amazing, right up there with Lenovo's ThinkPads as one of the best. Trackpad is as smooth as the Macs, but a little on the smaller side. Battery life is superb, almost 13 hours of productivity before needing to charge. The speakers sound fantastic and clean, but not as vibrant and loud as the MacBook Pros. And the pen input is awesome, the best for note takers. The Surface Pen rubber tip and suspension makes it feel like you're almost writing on paper. Fan noise can ramp up under load, but it's lower than a gaming laptop. But the CPU can get hot and thermal throttle, causing the clock speeds to drop down. It never goes under base clock, but this design is not the best option for cooling. So here's the thing. Even with all its faults, I love the Surface Book 3. I truly want it to be the best it can be. But the problem is it's completely held back by a design that's trying to do too much. Too many compromises had to be made to its cooling and performance, automatically making it a tough call for those power users that Microsoft is marketing this laptop to. If you're a designer who needs the flexibility of a Surface Book, then you're gonna love this. But for the rest of you looking for true raw performance, there are better options for the money. Anyways, I think it's time Microsoft comes up with a new design or takes a traditional approach if they want this to be the best solution for all creators. What do you guys think of the Surface Book 3? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because if you did, feel free to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.